Hey, welcome to the Mentored Engineer. Thank you for purchasing this course. One of the biggest questions I get is, Corey, what is your process for FEA? Well, I thought I would make a video tutorial on what I do. So I really love helping people, and I hope that this course gets beginners and even maybe some experts new knowledge that they hadn't considered before. And if you watch this and find there's things that you do or have questions about, please reach out to me at contact@mentoredengineer.com. Be happy to answer your questions. Let's get to it. So doing something like this is always better if we just work through a project rather than being in theory. I do not like theory. So let's do something practical, like my roller coaster. So here we're going to look at my roller coaster, and keep in mind this is for educational purposes only, so that anything I do here I'm purposely doing with the wrong loads, and I'm going to be doing a little bit differently than I do for my professional career. Now we are working with computers, so the number one rule of computers is garbage in, garbage out. So the first thing we need to do is spend a lot of time on our model, because if our model's crap, our results are going to be crap. And we're going to spend a lot of time redoing our weldments. And that took me about 4 hours to do for this model. It took me about that long to totally redo this model. You can see here that there are things like this joint right here. There's a big gap right there. This thing interferes there. So we have to go in and clean up all this before we can even begin. This part is going to be long and tedious. It is not fun. It is very time intensive. I'm going to try to make this as fun as I can, but given the topic, it's going to be difficult. One of the things we need to do at the assembly level is go in and see what can be simplified. For example, this joint right here consists of a bolt, a washer, 2 tubes, another washer, and a nut. All right. Now, all of these things, like that chamfer, don't need it. That washer, well, we can get away without using it. Look at this. This has got a fillet on the top and then a chamfer there, and it's also got a radius on the shank. And those are going to take up modeling time. They can create interferences. Likewise, this pin has a chamfer, a through hole, another chamfer there, a chamfer on the, and a fillet radius on the shank. It's also got this washer and this washer, this right here, a bunch of fillets. We need to get rid of all that. As far as the weldments go, look at something like this. This is just an end cap. I've got a gap here. I've got it oversetting the corner right there. Kind of just a lot of wasted things. Here we're going to have problems getting a weld in there, and we do need to model our welds in a weldment. Very critical, and I'll show you why. So lots of things that we can be doing. For example, look at this bearing. Bearing's got a lot of extra information in it, a lot of small edges. The pin here and the hole there are different diameters. They need to be the same. So when modeling for FEA, you have to have the exact diameters. You can't have clearances or anything like that. They have to be touching perfectly. For something like this, I always use the nominal diameter. In this example, that bearing diameter is 8 millimeters. So we got to use an 8 millimeter shaft, an exact 8 millimeter hole, or we could round it to 5/16, which is what I've done here. Go with the number that you like, but make sure they all match up. As far as these pins go, I'm just going to replace them and let the SOLIDWORKS pin connector do my heavy lifting for me. All right, so let's go to our model. So this is our model. We've got 3 main weldments. We've got our bogie, our axle, and the rear of the cart. Now I've gotten rid of most of the cart because it's a tutorial. We don't need to go through all that detail here. But what I've done here is I've gone in, modeled this all as one piece. It's one solid body. And we've got welds in there. All right, I like the looks of those welds. Now the welds are important because that's what actually takes the load in our weldment. If we were to just let this tube in the tube contact each other and not put weld there, it's not how the stresses are going to flow, because there's probably a gap in there. So we need to do something about that. Actually, we get a model in gaps. So let's look at that. So here I'm going to take a section. Let's take this section. I've actually assumed that my tube is a 32nd of an inch bigger than my shaft that I'm running through it. Why a 32nd of an inch? Well, I want to give SOLIDWORKS enough room so that when it meshes, it's not such a small gap that it can't do that. SOLIDWORKS, especially in the past, has had problems with it. It's gotten a lot better over the last 10 years or so. So we want to model that gap in. And we want to model our welds. This is where accuracy comes in. So you can see here that if I roll back my model, these are my main parts. And then I'll go in and add a bunch of chamfers. It mostly takes different steps to do that. And then I can see, hey, I like my welds, and then I'll start putting these cuts in behind it. So you can see we got the one in the middle right here, and then we also have one on the end. We got the end tube profile, and then we have where the two tubes were touching, we put a gap in there so that they're not touching anywhere but the weld. So all the load is transferred through the weld. If I sound like a broken record here, it's because I want you to learn this and know that the welds take the load, not the touching parts. Let's look at this weldment now. This weldment here, same thing. We got our gap there. We got lots of gaps here. We got one on the end. Got around the tube. And over here. Now, how did I model these end caps? So I took my tube, and then I extruded another 1/8 of an inch on it, because that's the thickness of my end cap on both sides. And then I just put a chamfer around each one. Right, that way, it's very close. It's going to do the same job, even though my actual ones have square corners. These ones have rounded corners. It's going to be very close to being what we need it to be. All right, the last one here is probably the most complex, so let's look into it. Alright, I'm going to make my section here. Now, if you have a joint like this where you have a plate on top of another plate, now I know it's a tube, but it's a plate and a plate, you can see here that I've added a gap. Now, if you can keep your gaps small, like 0.02 inches, that's great. You won't need to kind of ignore what I'm going to say. But if you got to take too much material out, what you're going to want to start doing is actually adding material here to the main plate. So for example, this plate right here is, I believe it's 3/16 of an inch. Oh, it's an 1/8 inch. If I were to take too much more out of that, I would want to add whatever that gap is to the thickness of this plate. So if I had to take a 1/16 here, I would want to add a 1/16 to my plate thickness. So what's going to set your gaps that you take out of here is how big your model is. So the bigger the model, the bigger the gap will need to be. And that's because sometimes in the meshing process, if you have a small gap, it really doesn't mesh very well and it causes problems. So I noticed here that my cut here goes all the way through the model, through that weld that isn't there. So we've got an error here. Let's see if it affects. Okay, so it's starting up here. Other than that, this looks good. This looks good. Let's look at this feature here because it's the highlighted one. I bet you it's extruding. Yep. No. This one. This one right here. All right. Let's look. Yep. Direction through all, both ways. Shouldn't go through all. Okay. So that looks like it'll be good. So let's look at that. Alright, so we're looking good there. Unfortunately, it did cut through this rod, so we're going to go ahead and join that rod back up. We're going to make a sketch there. I love this convert entities tool. In fact, the convert entities and the offset tool are probably going to be your favorite tools in this. And then we'll go ahead and extrude this up to next. Alright, so now we got a solid shaft, but everything around it is cut. Alright. When I do the modeling here, I love things to be as parametric as possible. So I use the Convert Entities tool, which you can select a face and it'll just put something on that. And then you can go ahead and edit that. The offset function is great as well because I can take a surface and then go outside of it. For example, when I was making these cuts, I selected the end of the rod and then I selected the offset tool and made another cut. I believe it was 20 thousandths as well, bigger than that. All right, our weldments are done. Let's go back to the main model. So like I said I was going to do, I took all the chamfers off of the flange bearing, the pin here. I took those out. I took the bearings out here, and I added these little nubs just so I could, so it's thin, it's plastic, it's going to be very flexible for what I need it to be. It's got a steel shaft running through there, so any force is really going to be transmitted through the steel and not so much the plastic. Now that's a trick that I've been using for a long time. This and this will be welded together in our model, or they call it bonded. But this is a nice little trick that I can use to, I don't have to worry about this rotating, and I don't have to worry about it switching from side to side as I load it up. So it's as if I had a very soft spring forcing it up to one side, even though it's technically welded. So even if this part wasn't already plastic, I might make a small plastic spacer and join these two together. That way I don't have to use contacts to make that happen. Now contacts will slow you down, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So on this joint right here, the tendency is to want to take this edge and bring it all the way to that edge. Well, that's not right. You're probably only getting it at 45 degrees. What will generally happen is you will end up burning this edge, so it might even be less than 45. So we're gonna pay attention to these joints when we run our analysis and make sure that they're okay. Once we got our weld in there, we're gonna make a cut behind this like we showed you. It'll be, you know, the profile of that put up against this tube. Here I added some split lines to the bottom of the wheel so that we can apply forces just on this part. It won't go all the way up. That's pretty much the only spot that the coaster transmits the force. And you can see here that our joint holding these two together is our bolt without all the extra features. And then I put a nut on there essentially by extruding it from the end all the way up to where it's going to touch there. So we're pretty much done. One thing I did here is this nylon wear pad is going to be welded to this part because it's pretty much bolted anyway, and then it'll be free to slide on the end of the tube. Alright, so we are almost done here. The last thing we need to do is check for interferences. Oh, look at that. I got a couple little interferences. So we've got interference of almost nothing. Alright, when we do this, I know they always want to make the transparent parts, but I'm going to hide those parts. So that hole in that tube, probably the same thing on the other side, are not fitting well. And my bolt, oh, it's not that, it's these bearings are interfering. So let's go in and check those. Here's the culprit. This is the bearing here, 1.252. This is why I say it needs to be exact. So we're gonna change these to 1.25 and 1.0. That 1.02 would cause us problems because it would slip fit in that pin and they wouldn't start off contacting, so they will not rub together. It'd be bad. Okay. Well, that is it. So that is the preparation of our model. Now we're going to go in and launch SOLIDWORKS and get our settings right. Find out how to create a study. I'm excited. Hope you are too. I'm really sorry it was so boring. Let's try to make it better in the next one.